Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. Oh, we'd like to think that all of us are out there to create adventure of our lifetime, but some of us need an example of somebody that is working and is in the works of creating the adventure of her lifetime. And we have such a guest. She is a podcaster. She is an author, and she has got a life story that is worth telling to anybody that is out there. And her book, which I'll have her give us the title of in just a second, but she's been through the wars, as it were, as you know. I like to call it a bad country music song period because we always have had that and stuff, but it's a way of how you persevere through it and how you prepare to come out the other side. She's got a great smile. She's got wonderful energy. Her name is Rosabel Zohfeld, and I want to welcome you to the show, Rosabel. Nice to see you again.
Nice to see you, Kevin. I'm so excited to be here. I cannot wait. I am just so fired up to being here and talking.
Well, let's talk about your story and how you came to be sitting in the chair right now doing a podcast, and you have your own podcast, so we're going to talk about, and all of the things that you've gone through in life. Was there a moment in time when you said, I'm not happy with the way things are going? Why am I really here? What am I actually here to do? Or was this kind of something that you've dreamt about your entire life?
Being a podcaster, perhaps?
Being an author, being a podcaster, and putting your story out there so that other people can benefit from your experiences.
Well, let me tell you about, I knew I wanted to write a book since I was 16 years of age. So the book, it was in the making. You know, I have a lot of notes, I have a lot of ideas, but I honestly never had the time because I was like busy building a career, a family, all these things. And then this past year was like, okay, I gotta get this done. I knew I was gonna do it. It was just a matter of time. And then the podcast actually came after the book because I was like, okay, now I have the book here. I got the story I gotta tell to people. Now, how do I get this story out there? And I am one of those people that I've never been the one who wait for someone to come get me or whatever. I'm like, you know, I tend to be a few steps ahead or whatever. I don't know what you call that. So I said to myself, well, what can I do? And I said, oh, a podcast. And so I shared the story with my husband. And of course, my husband, he's a very logic man. He's like, well, you know, you got to prepare. You can like do this. And he's thinking like it's going to happen in the next 3 months. No, next 3 months, I'd like that light went on that night. And next day I was already doing and got it done. And I just started, and here we are, you know. And so because of the book, and it was about talking about every chapter of the book. My story was super simple. That's why I call it Life Unscripted, because we really didn't having anything like a script behind it. And it started with actually my husband having conversations about my book. And next thing, I'm getting a lot of, you know, people approaching me like, hey, you know, I have a story. And I'm like, oh my God, this is a great idea. Let's just open the mic and let's have people. And I always envision people like you and me. We don't have to, you don't have to be a celebrity. You don't have to be, it's ordinary people like you and me, because right there is where you find a lot of heroes and a lot of people that are doing great things that you'll never know about it if they don't tell you, if you don't give them the opportunity to tell you. So there you go. And that's what's going on.
That's exactly true. And as a matter of fact, Positive Talk these days is a worldwide phenomenon. And in fact, we are joined by greetings watching you from Kilbura slums in Nairobi, Kenya. Happy to know this program exists. And Samuel, I can't pronounce the last name, the founder and CEO, it's a humanitarian support team. And welcome. I'm glad you're here listening to the show. And we've got, like I said, a great guest for you today. She's written the book, The Courage to Succeed, A True American Dream.
Yes.
Because, there are so many of us that are so busy saying, "Oh, I want to do this," or "I want to do that." Oh no, you can't do that. You've got to go and raise a family and do what everybody else tells you should do. It is so important that you are following your heart and following your dreams, and it's all coming true for you, isn't it?
Yes, life is short. Life is too short, shorter than we possibly think. We don't have another day ahead, so we just need. For me, it's like I try to live my life like this is my last day. So I want to make sure that I live, I don't know, something good behind. Help as many people as I can. And share my story. I feel like my story is one of those that can. Enlighten and encourage, especially younger people that are like wondering like how I'm gonna make it. Because in my story, I was 17 years old. I was born in Colombia, South America. My mother passed away when I was 17, and I was the only. I mean, I had no brothers, no sisters, no family, and so I mean, yes, family of course, but you know how it is sometimes. We don't choose our family. Let's put it that way. And so, but
That is so true.
yes. And so but the thing it is we gotta make, if life really gives you lemons, then we gotta make lemonade, right? So we just gotta take everything for an advantage. Okay, fine, I don't have this but I have that. And that was my case. And then the opportunity to come to the United States came in. Again, I did not wake up and say I'm going to go to the US, become an American citizen or anything like that. In fact, I did not speak any English. And to make it even worse, that was the worst topic or subject in high school. And I used to laugh about it, like, what am I going to need English for? Whatever, you know. And then because of the need, I here I am speaking to you. Isn't that amazing?
Well, I got to tell you, ¿cómo está?
Muy bien.
That's all I know. That's it. That's all I get. Because I was in the restaurant business and I had some dishwashers and stuff that spoke Spanish and stuff. So I learned a little bit there. But that is so cool. And now you are in the United States. Where are you exactly?
So I'm in Texas.
Oh,
Yay.
perfect. Texas is a nice brown dry
Yes. So
state.
Texas, I really like Texas because it resembles a lot where I grew up. It's like a savanna, and there was a lot of, so the terrain is very like home. And so it's like, oh, it feels like being at home. It's hot. It's always hot out there. So there you go.
Well, I got to ask you because you lost your mom at 17, and I'm sorry for your loss, by the way, and stuff. And so you were out there all by yourself. Have you always been this positive type of person, or is this something that you've developed over time? Because you really are a delightful human being to talk to.
Well, that is a good question. Maybe that's a good question. I guess this is just the way I've been. Well, maybe I had no other choice. Let's put it that way. By the way, my mother, we learn a lot when we're kids. We learn by example. So my mother was a very delightful person. She was always joyful and happy. And one of the things she used to say, unfortunately, there was a lot of hardship in her life and she had to go through so much, but she always had this radiant, smiling face no matter what. And so maybe I've emulated that all my life. Now, with that being said, though, it's interesting because I'm always kind of happy and positive, but I am not. I don't shy away from showing my true feelings. So I'm also one that if I'm sad, I'm like, okay, I know I'm sad, and I allow myself to be sad because I think both, all emotions they're true to us as human beings. So I think as long as we allow, and we're aware of those emotions, then we can, have a healthier emotional being. So that is very important to me because just as
And
we can be happy, we can be sad too.
I agree with that 100% because, the interesting thing is, and I often say on this program, is that our life is full of experiences.
Yes.
Some of them are just wonderful experiences, but many of them are not so wonderful,
Correct.
and they are a challenge for us. And it depends upon how you decide to meet those challenges. If you meet them with woe is me, oh, life is terrible and I can't, and I'm a victim and stuff, or do you choose to say, I'm learning from this, and therefore I'm going to be able to go to the next level and continue my positive approach to life? Because if you have a negative approach to life, life can be very long and very hard.
Very difficult. Yes. It's not what happened to us, it's what we make out of it. And also, another reason why I can smile today is because whatever I lost or whatever it was, I feel like God has given me 3 times the amount. I have a lot of reasons to be happy today. I have a beautiful family. I have a very supportive husband. I have my 2 children. I mean, of course, not we're not perfect. I always say that because I'm not trying to say here that it's all roses and whatever, but I have a lot of reasons to be happy. And I always tell myself, especially me working in the medical field, by the way, I'm also a nurse practitioner. And so I see a lot of people who unfortunately are going through very difficult times, their health and so many. So I count my blessings, let's put it that way.
Well, and thank goodness you're a health practitioner, because I may need your help here at one point in time or another. Because my I broke my wrist, and they had to operate on it to put it back together and stuff. So,
No, wow. I'm so sorry to hear that.
well, it's one of those things that happens and in life, and you either accept them and go on, and like you said, if you have lemons, you make lemonade. So the positive that's coming from, this is my right arm, by the way, which is what I do everything with, and so now I'm learning to use my left hand. So I'm going to be ambidextrous at one point, I think, because I can only type with my left hand, and I can only eat with my left hand, which is why I'm losing weight. But that's beside the point. But it's always it can be a real good thing
Yes.
if you
And it's
choose.
also good for your brain, though, by the way, when it actually helps make a different pathway. Yeah. I don't
Really,
know
I
if you
didn't know
ever
that.
heard of it. Yeah. I work in neurology. And so I've learned, sometimes, to help change, because how you always using your right hand, but the moment you start using your left hand, now a different part of your brain needs to kind of start acting. That also helps you renew certain areas of your brain. It's interesting, huh?
Yeah, see, so there's another positive that comes from
Yes.
that. I'm
There's
learning that.
always positive. For example, like if it happened to me, I would have been, well, I'm glad it was the wrist. Of course, it's a bad thing that you broke your wrist, but I'm glad it was the wrist, and I don't know, your neck maybe, or something like that, or something worse, or your hip. You'll be in a different shape. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. That's kind of
Well,
like,
I'm one of those that has been gifted by medical technology, because I've had both my hips replaced. I've had my rotator cuff not replaced, but repaired. Both elbows, now my wrist, my stomach, so I've had. As a matter of fact, you'll appreciate this, being a medical practitioner. I was in the room after I changed and stuff, and I was sitting there waiting, and I waited for like an hour and a half, and in walks this kid that I swear was a junior in high school, and he said, "Hi, I'm your anesthesiologist," and I said,
oh
"What?"
wow,
Because he looked really, really young, and but he was very smart, and they did something I'd never seen done or had done to me before, so it was all good. It's all about the experiences that we gain, and
yes,
I've been around a while now, so I've had lots of experiences, both good and both also a bad country music song. But
yeah.
that's what life is about, isn't it?
Yes, that's what makes life so, so interesting. Yes,
And we
definitely.
continue to move on with it. Now, tell me about your book, The Courage to Succeed, A True American Dream. Tell us about that book. How did it come
Yes,
to be?
so in fact, let me grab a real copy. I'm sorry, I should have a copy here. Oh, right here. Okay, here's a copy. Um, so My book, well, it's a memoir, by the way. It talks about my life growing up in Colombia from the beginning up to this point. Talks about my childhood, a little bit of that, the difficulties I have to overcome. It also talks about my mom's passing away, how that, you know, was, and then without spoiling it too much. And then when I come here to the States and all the things that I had to go through. And here's an interesting thing, at least in my story, is like there's a chapter, for example, I'll call it curveballs, because just when you think you've gone through enough, there's more stuff that gets thrown. But it's, again, so at one point I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna say I was thinking like this is fun, but it's just like, growing my emotional muscles, oh, another challenge, another challenge. And so it talks about different motherhood. I was very, very ill when I was pregnant with my two children, and I mean, having to overcome that, oh my God, that was so always something, in a good way. But I am so, so thankful to be here today, to be able um, to be alive, because I think when my second pregnancy, I thought I was just going to be gone. I had preeclampsia, baby was born. There's so many things. And that was during COVID. And so, yeah. And then, of course, me trying to go to school at the same time, working, making into a career, trying to make a living, all those things. I mean, it's just, I'm just so happy. So yeah, it tells you my story, and also talks a little bit about perhaps one of the things that we touch, in another time, talk about how I approach individuality and the whole cultural thing. Me coming from Colombia, not speaking the language, being here, and me being Hispanic. One of the things I talk a lot about is how, for example, me growing up in Colombia, we are, uh, how would I say it? I mean, if you look at me, it's like a mixed race. It's hard to tell. I'm mixed. There's European in me that perhaps be some uh, Indian, Colombian, I don't know, some sort of thing like that, right? And so living in Colombia was like, we're just Colombians, right? And so I come here to America, and then suddenly I learned that there is some kind of box. I mean, that's the way I call it. There was a box where I'm now known as Hispanic or Latino, which to me, growing up, Hispanics, it was like somebody who was from the Iberian Peninsula or Hispania. And I'm like, oh, so I'm a Hispanic. Okay. Okay, tell me more about that. And like, there's this box where I'm supposed to be this way, I'm supposed to act this way. And I'm like, oh my God, it doesn't look anything like me, like all the opposite, whatever they were expecting me to be. And so it helps me from a very young age to approach, hey, you know what? I see people, I see who you are. I want people to see me for who I am, not because I belong to a certain group or whatever. So that was it's always been my approach. And I'm very happy about it, because that just has opened my view in so many ways, and I'm able to interact with people of different creeds, religion, races, you name it. And so for me, has made my experience living in a multicultural world as it is in the U.S. I feel a lot better about it. Sometimes I hear stories from other people, like other perhaps Hispanics, say, well, I feel this way. I'm like, I don't know. That's really not my story. Maybe because I've taken it a different approach to it. So, but yeah, that's something that I discuss in the book.
Indeed, indeed. And we need to talk about all of that. And I'd love to talk about the adventure of coming to the United States from Colombia when English was not your second language. You were knew Spanish, but English was different, and some of your challenges here, being Hispanic American is labels. I'm so tired of labels. I think we're all one, and we all should all be working together. But we need to take a quick break, and if you're a real estate agent, I would really like you to listen to this commercial, because Ophir can really help you if you want to become not only a real estate agent, but a successful one. We'll be right back in 1 minute.
You became a real estate agent for freedom, success, and real momentum. So why are you still stuck waiting for closings to save you? I'm Ophir Adar, founder of Real Momentum, and I help agents like you become seven-figure earners. My first client that I coached, brand new agent, made $250,000 back in 2006. What's the secret? You feed your white wolf. That's the part of you that's bold and unstoppable and a closer and able to build rapport quickly. So click Get Listings at Real Momentum and let's unleash your real estate potential.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. And Rochelle is taking the day off, and she may show up at one point or another. We'll see. And our guest today is Rosabel Zohfeld, and I want to congratulate you on your book, congratulate you on your podcast. But there was a moment in time when you were a late teenager or early 20s, and you decided to migrate to the United States, but you didn't know the language. What was it like? Did you fly here? Did you land in an airport? That must have been a surreal experience for you.
It was. It was. But it all began, let me tell you, I'll never forget this. I don't know, the immigration time at the time. I was put in a room for like 3 hours. And I was just sat there, I guess, while they did all kinds of, I don't know what they were looking at, but I just sat there and sat there and sat there. And then finally it was like, all right, welcome. And when they say welcome and the doors open, if you ask me if I wanted to kiss the floor, let me tell you, yes. And that's true. That is very true. And I felt freedom. I mean, I know it sounds a little cliche because, well, the whole freedom thing, but yes, that is exactly why I felt it. But it's because at the time I knew that I needed, it was a good thing for me to move. It was a good thing for me to move away from the pain, from all the things that gone wrong, in my life, like losing my mother, for example. There was so much pain. And so it was a great thing to leave that behind and to be able to have a new beginning in a different. So I was very, very excited about coming and even though I knew the language very little. And of course I had to wait for, because I came, of course, legally. And so I had to wait for like a whole year for permits. So I couldn't work. I couldn't do all these things. And then as things were getting better, then I was able to. But the first thing, as soon as I got that work permit, I got whatever job I could get. I never forget the first job I got. It was I was selling pet supplies over the phone, and of course my English wasn't the best. And I was, I don't know, maybe like making like $5 or $7 an hour, whatever I could make, so I could put myself through school and whatnot. So yeah, and of course there was a lot of people laughing about my weird accent at the time, but hey, none of that. I just knew that I just need to keep it one day at a time, keep on doing it, and then here I am.
I really feel for telemarketers, because a lot of them are in other countries or they're new to the country that they're in. I have to laugh because occasionally I'll get one and a guy will say, my name is Bob. And I said, no, your name isn't Bob. Oh, yes, sir. My name is really Bob. And said, no, tell me what your real name is. Click. Because they want, and I actually had a guy say, my name is Kevin. And I said, no, it's not. He said, well, what's your name, Kevin? Oh, well, click. And so, but I feel sorry for those guys because it's a hard way to make a living.
It is.
But I wanted to ask you now, I've never been to Colombia. I don't know. I hear that there are gangs there, and there's a lot of drugs, and there's a lot of stuff.
Let me just say this: are there gangs in New York City?
Of course there are. Yes.
Well, there you go. Gangs are everywhere.
So it wasn't a scary environment from a safety standpoint for you, but it was, the opportunities in the United States are so much better and more with colleges, right. And now you're a nurse.
For me, it was the emotional issue after losing my mother, and then of course in trying to build a new life and so on. Yeah.
What was it like? What was it like the first time you walked into a grocery store, a big grocery store?
Wow, that was awesome. I mean, but again, things have changed so much, and I had the opportunity to go back to Colombia again, and things are big and beautiful. I mean, things are not. I mean, unfortunately, Colombia. I know you asked me about the grocery store, but unfortunately, Colombia, like many other places in the world, had a bad rap around so many things. Like in my case, it was about drugs and Pablo Escobar and all these things that I'm like, yeah, I mean, I heard about it and certain things, but it wasn't necessarily my story. But yeah, going to the grocery store, it wasn't so much about the grocery store per se. It was about being able to afford things in that grocery store.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
and also feeling like, oh, I know some people out there that could not. And in fact, there was a time where I was feeling guilt. I was feeling guilt, like, how can I have all these great things here? And then, but then at another time, I've learned that, you know, life is what it is, and we just gotta, I cannot be feeling guilty for the entire world. In other words, I help what I can, and whoever I can. But yeah,
Well, more importantly, you had the courage, and courage is the right word for it, to come to a completely different country that you
no
didn't know the language.
family.
No
Yes.
family, no support group necessarily around you, but you made the transition and you made it work, because you must have a lot of intestinal fortitude to be able to do that.
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. Something happened when I lost my mother. Well, first of all, I have a quite of a rough childhood, so maybe that also prepared me for that. And then I was also, we were moving like every 6 months, and there was so much. And then when I lost my mother, I literally told myself, "What's the worst that can happen?" And I just basically, that's how I was like, okay, what's the worst that can happen? Because to me, that was the worst that happened to me, so nothing else could be. Therefore, I took everything as a challenge, or as an opportunity to, let's see what happens. And then of course some people told me I was crazy, but oh well.
Well, do you know something though? Most people that embark upon something that is either unusual or dangerous or requires their passion to be involved, there are a lot of people around them that turn around and say, "Oh no, no, you can't do that. Who do you think
Yeah.
you are?" And
Well, sorry to interrupt you, but it just reminded me, in my book, for example, I'll tell the story about when I was 4 years old. We were robbed, right? Like, my mom and my dad, they hired this woman to be a housekeeper, right? And she literally, in the very same day, she packed everything. She emptied out our home, right? And she stole everything. That was a pretty rough thing. And then I was there, and I asked her, "What are you doing?" She's like, and she put me outside. And all these years, and my mom was like, "Man, was I that bad that not even the thieves will take me?" You know, that's what I was thinking. But when you live in rough environments like that, I don't know what else. So it's like you take life. I don't know. Maybe I just thought that was bad enough. That and so many other things. Not so much poverty, but I wasn't poor, like, you know but I also unfortunately had to endure, my dad was, he was physically and abusive to me towards my mom. So there's some rough stuff out there that, to me, it was like anything else will be better than that in many ways. So yeah,
And
maybe that's it.
congratulations. Again,
Thank you.
congratulations on what you're doing. She is a podcast host, and it's doing very, 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 very well, from what I understand. And
Yes.
also, she's an author of the book. And you wrote the book. How long ago did you say to yourself, or did somebody, or did you have an intuition that said, I think I need to write a book? Or is this what everybody else was telling you, that you should write a book? And so
No,
you
that's
finally
something
did it?
that I knew. I've been a writer since I've always been like a journaling, writing. No, since I'm 16, I was like, one day I'm gonna write a book, because I already knew, like, seriously, from like age 4, I already knew that my life is gonna be so adventurous. I mean, it's a lot of adventure here. So it's like, this gotta be written. So I was just like, one day, and then I guess I just. This past year was the time to where I finally have it, to put it all together, to put all my nuts together. But it was always in my mind. It was just a matter of time. Yeah.
And the name of the book again is The Courage to Succeed. You can go to
Right.
Amazon And the courage to succeed, a true American dream. You can go to Amazon and where booksellers
Barnes
are,
and Noble. Yes.
Barnes and Noble. And if there's a local bookseller in your neighborhood that's a mom and pop, and you walk in there and say, "Hey, do you have a courage to succeed?" And they say, "Well, we don't, but we can order that." Well, why don't you order that and put a couple extra copies on the shelf? And I think it's going to be very popular. And we can support our local communities.
It's an easy read. It's like 100 pages. It has a lot of really, really good, nuggets in there that can help people. I feel like it will appeal a lot, especially to the younger in middle age. Anyways, different people. But in general, it just gives you that idea like, hey, if I could do it, you can do it. Because the main topic or the main message here is you do have the courage. We all have the courage. We have what it takes to do the things we want to do, whether it's creating a family or getting a career, whatever it is you want. You just have to know that you have what it takes. That's basically it. And
we were all born great. And I will stand by that till the day I'm no longer born great. So we need to take a real quick break. And when we come back, I would like to delve into your podcast career, how you got that started, and also just, there's a big change, and there's a lot of change happening now. I'm wondering how things are going in your world through all of that stuff that's going on. If we can touch on that, not for very long, but for just a moment. You're listening to Positive Talk on the Brushwood Media Network. Listen to this.
You're listening to Brushwood Media Network, the best in syndicated talk, news, and entertainment shows.
As you go about your daily life, look closer. As you gather with family and friends who love and support you, look closer. There are youth right in your community who don't have the home, warmth, and healing you have. So look closer. Every year across America, a staggering 4.2 million youth are homeless or trafficked. And for 50 years, Covenant House has worked relentlessly to keep them safe and protected. Tonight, 2,000 young people will sleep safely in a Covenant House bed. And tomorrow, they will wake up surrounded by love. They get clean clothes, hot meals, medical care, and a safe place to sleep. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. In sites across America to help them fulfill the great promise of their lives. So look closer at Covenant House. To help or get help, go to covenanthouse.org.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. And yes, I got to tell you, there are kids in the United States of America that don't have enough to eat. That's a shame. We need to fix that. That's why we play Covenant House, because it is so important and we can do so much better with the folks living here in the United States. And our guest today is, I'm going to have you pronounce your name just to make sure that I've gotten it right so far.
Rosabel Zohfeld.
There you go. And she's the author of a book. She's also a podcaster. Now, you wrote the book and then you decided, hey, I should do a podcast. What made you decide to do that? Because a lot of people go, oh, I'll do that. But you've got a bunch of episodes up and you're continuing to grow and you're getting listeners and all of that kind of stuff. So you are what would be called in the podcasting world as a success story, I do believe.
Thank you. Wow. So it was about sharing my story. It was about telling people. It started like that. Let's say one episode at a time, one chapter at a time. And then for friends, family, people started listening to it. And next thing I was like, I have people reach out to me, say, hey, I have a similar story. I have a story to tell. I'm saying, well, let's go. Let's open the mics and let's talk about it. And one of the things is, my podcast is called The Life Unscripted. It's a simple title, unscripted, meaning real, honest. I wanted to showcase the stories of people, like I say, you and me. You don't have to be a celebrity, just the true heroes, the day-to-day people who have this beautiful stories that if nobody gives them a chance to talk about it, you'll never hear about it. And then you never know who or what story, what's going to impact, what's the impact that has, how it can later on, many years later, oh, by the way, one day I heard this young lady or whoever say this, that really brought a sense of change in my life or did this for me. We never know who we can impact with our story. So that was the idea, and that's how it's going. And then so I have other authors, I have people from all walks of life, and it's so interesting because a lot of like practitioner health practitioners, psychology, trauma victims, you name it. And I've discovered all these beautiful souls behind it. And then I always feel like I find a little me in them, their stories, and vice versa. And it's also been very like a catalyst for me. It's also been transformative, and it's also like therapeutic as well, especially in a day and age when we need more connection than ever. I mean, yes, we are more connected through this social media and all this, but we need to talk more with people. We need to listen. So that's a little bit of the idea behind the podcast. Yes.
Well, I love that. I love the idea behind it, because even though we have social media, we don't get an actual idea of what is going through people's minds. They write the things in their life is Pollyannish, and it's just wonderful, and they're doing this and they're taking pictures of that, but they don't talk about what really is going down deep. And I know your work and the people that you talk to, you go deeper than superficially. And that is, and by the way, you are absolutely right. People are going to listen to this podcast, this radio show, and it could be in a week, it could be in a month, it could be in a year or 5. And it's going to mean something to them, because they'll be saying, I've been thinking about that all day, and how I can succeed with what I'm doing, and to have the courage to do that. I wanted to ask you, because I've never been through, I was born here, so I never had to go through the immigration process and to become a U.S. citizen and stuff. Do you remember specifically the moment when they said, you, young lady, are a U.S. citizen?
Oh, yes. I'll never forget it. It was 2010. Yes. And it was actually in Alabama, where I was living at the time. And let me tell you, I had to go through so many things. I had to go through, paperwork, lawyers, pay this fee. I used to say, I had a joke that I no longer have fingerprints. It's how many times I was fingerprinted, like I don't have anymore, because it was like traveling here, go finger. How many times can you fingerprint someone?
Yeah, I tell you, the immigration process, as it's currently described in the United States, is onerous. It's difficult, and I think that we need to, as a country and as a society, we need to rethink all of this. Because I've known some immigrants and some people from Mexico and other places in Central and South America. They are the hardest working people I've ever met, and they're honest, and they take care, and they're working 80 hours a week and sending some money back home, because their family can't eat unless they do that kind of thing. So I think that we need to change our attitude towards immigration in general. What do you think?
And in general, I think all these misconceptions, one of the misconceptions, especially early on when I couldn't speak well, was people thought I was not educated. That was their thinking. And I have already gone to college. I started medical school in Colombia, and the way that they will, just put me down in a way. But, for me, I've always been one of those that, is more about, I know who I am and not what I can. So but for those who don't have that kind of don't feel like that, it can definitely shatter who knows what it could cause them to do, I mean, I don't know, but it's not an easy thing to go through.
Well, especially when you were living in Alabama at the time.
Yes,
Alabama is kind of a southern state, and they kind of view things a little bit differently than they do like
Well,
where
it
I
was
live.
interesting. Everybody thought out there that I was Mexican, and so because they were looking at me like, "What part of Mexico are you from?" I'm like, "I'm not from Mexico. Nothing against it, but again, so. But for me, let me just be honest. It was more of education. I always, again, if you just look at the positive of anything, for me, it was an opportunity to educate people into things and so on. And I did find some. In fact, I found some very, very great people out there who actually helped me, who gave me home when they didn't have one. So many, in fact, I have beautiful, beautiful family out there who, I mean, it's amazing. Like I said, we have to make an effort to get to know people more from what they represent in the outside, what they look like, or where they're from. You got to get to know people, and then you'll know, oh, maybe I was not too right about this, so.
And most of the time, when you have a negative impression upon a group of people, it's because of your ignorance of that group of
Exactly.
people. Because they're people just like everybody else. And a thought came to me then, and somebody's asking this in the audience: what is the difference between coming from like Mexico and coming from Colombia or Uruguay or Venezuela or Brazil? Are there differences in the cultures to each of those countries?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's just like there is different in culture even here in one country, like, I mean, even though they're subtle, yeah, absolutely. Our Spanish, for example, in Colombia, we have a pretty clean Spanish across. It's very open, but there are certain words that don't even mean the same in the same language, and then also cultural things that are appropriate or not. There's certain words that, per se, I say as a Colombian, that if I say it for a Puerto Rican, that is offensive, things of that nature, very, very. I have to tone down, like, culturally Colombia, because we're very outgoing, very open. So kind of like bring it up here to the American culture and so on. So yeah, it's more. I think a lot of it people don't realize it, but it's more cultural than anything. And if only people was open to learn about the different cultures and how people behave in different environments, maybe things would be a little bit better. I think so.
I agree with you 100%. It really is amazing to me because the United States is considered the great melting pot. And we've got all kinds of different cultures. We've got the Germans and the Irish and the African Americans and the Hispanics and the Asian and all of those things. And yet we do not treat it like, and we do not honor each other's customs and where they came from and the things that they do, because we don't choose to learn about some of those things, which I think does us all a disservice. Do you agree?
I think it goes both ways. You're right. I think also another way I look at it, like if somebody from here was to go to my native country or Colombia, I would want them to kind of assimilate. So it's both ways. I think both parties have to open their mind. Yes, Americans perhaps born here need to learn about other people's cultures, and then the others. I be honest with you, I could never pretend that I could bring whatever my culture was from there and bring it up here and try people to adapt to me. I think we need to learn, like, like you say, honor it. There's some things that we do, but that at the end of the day, will adapt, and it's meeting everybody in the middle. That's the way I'll call it, because that's also a way. I feel that is what I call my success, because I also, and that's just my personal opinion, I also see other different cultures. When you close yourself into a group, when we all close each other, well, we're the white people, we're the black people, you don't allow to have that interchange, to exchange. Oh, and to try to understand each other, because at the end of the day, we're not this, we're not that, we're just humans. We are one race, and that is, I call it the human race. To me, that's just the way it is, but that's just my opinion.
No, I think you're absolutely right, because ultimately we are all one. We are all the same energy. We come from the same place. It doesn't matter what we look like, if we're a man or a woman, or who we love, or what color we are. We're all more similar than not. And you being in the medical field, how similar we all are.
That is also a great thing. Is actually for me and working in the medical field, I treat everybody. It sometimes I find it a little hilarious because sometimes when people tell me certain things, oh, that is so and so, they do this or they're a nurse too, and I look across, I treat everybody the same. It doesn't matter if it's the janitor, the nurse, the president, the whatever. So that is something that it don't matter to me because I'm like everybody gets the same treatment in a good way, and it's always respectful. It's always honoring the human part, all this, and no matter whether you're LGBTQ, whatever, it don't matter your creed. For me, that doesn't. It's part of me understanding, that we're all different, but we're right, and you are right. We have to find what makes us closer to each other, as opposed to the opposite.
Yep, and I couldn't agree more, because right now with smartphones, and I was at a doctor's appointment for my wrist just the other day. I was going in for a post-op meeting, and I decided specifically not to take my cell phone in, and I was 45 minutes early. And there were people in the waiting room, and everybody had a smartphone. Everybody was looking at their phone. Nobody was looking up. A guy across from me was looking at his cell phone or his phone, and he said to his wife, "Oh, what day is it?" She said, "Well, I don't know," because they're retired. And I said, "Today's the 21st." And because and he said, "Thank you," because I wanted to get a glimpse of what humanity was like without the cover of the cell phone or the smartphone, and really get into and listen to the conversations that people were having with each other. That, to me, that was more fun than looking at a news report that probably isn't true anyway, or something along those lines. So you are a people person, and I know that you observe people a lot and look at people. Does it amaze you that how distant we've become and antisocial we've become because of the cell phones and the texting? And my son is an avid textist, and it's hard for me because he doesn't ever call on the phone. I never get to hear his voice. And
I am just so happy to have started this podcast. Found me. It was like one of those beautiful accidents, because I am now having more conversations with people that I ever thought I could have I not have this avenue that I had created for myself and for others. Yeah, you are so right. I tend to say something like we live in a world we're more connected, but more disconnected than ever, because we're connected to the screen, and which again is positive to that, but people also have to learn how to have that face-to-face, or that touch, as important, conversations with family, having to learn like a balance, like when we're eating dinner, we're not looking at the phone and so on, and it's not easy though. It's not easy. I mean,
well,
it's not
and
easy, yeah.
And you have a couple of children. How old are your kids, by the way?
I have a 4-year-old little girl and a 9-year-old boy.
And, dinner at that age, and at any age, really, it's important at least for every family. And this is my personal opinion. When we come back from this break, I'll ask you yours. But in my opinion, every family needs to get together for a period of time during the day, and mealtime is a great time to do it, where you can digest what happened in each other's day and answer some questions like, why is it sunny outside? And things like that a 4-year-old might ask and stuff. But it's a great way to connect with your family members and other people that are in your world. So I want to know what you think about that. We're talking with Rosabel Zohfeld, and she's an author and a podcaster, and she's got a great smile and a wonderful human being. And we will be right back after this real quick. It's 30 seconds. Would you just relax? We'll be right back.
When the game is on the line, championship teams know the game plan. They communicate and work together to win. We all need a game plan to protect ourselves online. Talk to family and friends so they know how to stay safe too. Create strong passwords, turn on multi-factor authentication, update software, and recognize and report phishing, because online safety is not something you want to fumble. Get more game-winning tips at CISA.gov/secure our world. Then share them with family and friends.
And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Rochelle has got the day off, and Rosabel Zohfeld is here. She's a podcaster of note. And the name of your podcast again is?
The Life Unscripted with Rosabel.
The Life Unscripted with Rosabel. I love that. And you've been doing it, and you're starting to get a following, and you've got people. What's it like now that you're a superstar?
No, I mean, it just, I'm actually, so I'm getting to wrap season 2, and I'm going to start season 3 of it. Have some surprises out there. Again, it's amazing. There's a lot more work to do. There's so much to do. I'm just so excited. I'm just so happy when I get people telling me like you're doing a great job by putting all these stories, all these interesting things. It's kind of like what you do too. Just letting people know that there's some bad things happening, but there's also so much good out there. We just have to focus on the positive. Life is always going to be difficult, but we got to, focus on the positive so we can make it.
Well, and I agree with you 100%. And the issue is, and your podcast isn't like this, nor is my radio show. It's not like, okay, it's Pollyanna, everything is perfect, we're all doing great, and nothing is going wrong, and then everything is just going great. That's not how life is.
Yes.
We have good moments, we have bad moments, but there are people. There are wonderful human beings on this planet that are rising above the issues that they've been presented with when they were either a kid or a young adult, even an adult and an older adult, that they're making the conscious decision to do something different than they've ever done before. And that just inspires the heck out of me when I talk to somebody like that, somebody like you.
Thank you. Yes, that's why I call it the courage to succeed. It takes courage I say this because people say, well, I don't have the courage to do. No, let me say something. It takes courage to leave. It takes courage to get up and go to work every day. It takes so much courage to do so many things. We just need to learn also to be a little bit compassionate with each other, with ourselves. There's a lot of things that we do. There's a lot of moms out there that do a lot, for their kids, working from home, all these things that happen that, you don't have someone out there constantly saying, hey, thank you for what you do. I mean, you name it. They're veterans. And by the way, we're about to do, Memorial Day here. And so many things. And we just need to learn to be thankful and to also give thanks to the others that do things like that. And also to ourselves, so we can just keep thriving, because that's what life is about. It's about continue to thrive, not just suffering,
And that, in and of itself, becomes the grand adventure. If you can look at every day, like when you get up, that your day is empty and meaningless until you fill it up with whatever you want and decide what meaning it has. And you get to do that repeated every day for the rest of your life. If you take that mantra and live by it, you'll be amazed at the really cool things that'll happen to you. Don't you think?
Absolutely. Yes. Indeed, I believe that.
And I know it for a fact. I mean, it's happened to me, even when what I call my bad country music song experiences, when those come to happen, it's like, well, okay, so my dad died, my dog died, my wife left, I lost my house, but I have another house now, and I don't have another dog yet, but I might. But
I was going to ask you this: don't country music songs have a happy ending?
A lot of them have got. Now I'm going back to the olden days, when country music was like, oh my Lord, life is just crappy and life is just not good, and stuff. And even if they come up with the lyrics at the end that make them happier, there still is a down. It's kind of like that old song, oh Lord, it's hard to be humble when you're perfect in every way, and so I view it like that. I don't know whether that's accurate or not. I'm not a big country music fan, but that's the stereotype anyway.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we just gotta laugh. My mom used to say, if we don't laugh, we'll party. So sometimes
there is no reason in my world that and do bad things happen? Yes, of course. But
Yes.
there's no reason to look at them like I'm just waiting for the next shoe to drop or the next bad. I see so many people that say that. It's like, I'm waiting for the next shoe to drop or the next bad thing to come waltzing into my life because of the last bad thing that came waltzing in my life. Well, you know what? You're going to end up creating that.
Exactly. You're in that calling. You become what you think.
Exactly. And if you think positively and you think of all the great things that you can, you'd be amazed at how everything just kind of shows up. And then you just say yes and trust. And if you do those things, you can do really well. Rosabel, we're going to run out of time, unfortunately. I would love to have you back because you're a lot of fun. I got to tell you.
Thank you. Thank you. You too.
And if it's okay with you, I want to give you the last couple of moments of the show to be able to tell our audience anything that you would like them to know.
Absolutely. Well, I just want to tell everybody today that it all starts with you. It starts with you. A lot of times we'll look for happiness outside. A lot of times we'll look for things outside. But if you just go deep inside, close your eyes and go inside, you can find it. You can find the peace. You can find the happiness. All the things that you're looking for inside you, regardless whether you are a religious person or so on. Just start with yourself. Get yourself better, whatever it is, whatever change that you need to make in your life, start with you, and then the rest just kind of like falls into place. And I would love for the people that are listening to connect with me as well. I would love for you to follow the Life Unscripted podcast with Rosabel. And I'm on social media, but mainly just go to www.rosabelzohfeld.com and you can find all the info you need in there. And then if you want to be a guest on my podcast, come on over. We'll have a nice talk, just like the one we're having here with Kevin today.
Exactly. And by the way, is RosabelUnscripted.com another one of your websites?
Yes, RosabelUnscripted.com. So it's growing so big that now I'm rebranding under the same idea, having this beautiful website being built, and so many new things are coming up. It's getting really, but I decided to name my brand as my name, RosabelZohfeld.com. Yes.
Perfect. And you know what's interesting about all of this, my dear, is that when you approach life in a certain way and you approach it from a positive standpoint, and then great things just seem to show up. Because that's why we're here, and we're here to uplift each other and to be kind to one another. And if you can do that, even when you're driving, I know it's hard when you're driving, but even when you're driving, if you can be kind to the other drivers and say, I'm sure there is a reason why they're in such a hurry, or I'll just get out of their way, and they'll.
You know what I tend to think when somebody is driving in a rush? I'm always thinking that it must be a pregnant woman in there. They got to have this baby, so let them go.
Exactly. Yeah. And whether it's true or not, it doesn't matter, because in your world,
it could be. You never know. Somebody might be having a heart attack in the backseat. You never know. So just let people go. They might, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, just let people. I tell people all the time, and Rochelle has written this. She's written this on her mirror in her bathroom, which is do you know who Paul McCartney is?
Yes.
The gospel according to Paul McCartney says, let it be.
Let it be. That's
so
right.
Just let it be, and you will find that the good outweighs the bad, and accept the good, dismiss the bad, and everything's going to, and your entire existence can change. And not only that, and you know this, the existence of your family and friends and those that are around you also changes, because they're looking, what the hell happened with Rosabel? She's so bright and shiny and so happy. I guess maybe that's a better way to be.
And when I'm not brighty and shiny, they're like, okay, what happened to her?
It's like when you're not bright and shiny, it's like,
something's wrong with Rosabel. Yeah, like seriously, but no, for the most part. But I will say this, Nike said it. Just do it.
That's it.
Whatever it is, just do it. Go for it.
Some of the great sayings in history. Just do it. Rosabel Zohfeld has been with us, and go look at her website, which is RosabelZohfeld.com. And thank you, my dear. You'll have to come back.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Goodbye.
Have an awesome day, everybody. Thanks for listening to this episode of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Our purpose is to provide everyone with a positive, entertaining, and educational experience. I would love your feedback and comments about the show, including possible topics and great guest suggestions. Please email me at kevin@kmmedia.pro. And remember, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got.